Hi, y'all. A couple of things I want to let you know that this conversation that we're having is not meant to treat or diagnose any disease, and I am not acting here necessarily as a therapist. If you have any concerns or need to talk to someone, of course, seek professional help with a therapist or a doctor or something like that. Okay. Hey, everyone. I'm basically here to talk to you a little bit about mindfulness and meditation and get some thoughts about what it is, maybe a little bit about what it isn't. I know that you've probably heard the term. Maybe you've seen it on a magazine cover or two at the store. Maybe you've heard your friends talk about it. Maybe somebody's taking a yoga class and you talk about mindfulness and meditation. So let's take some of the mystery out. And maybe you've been hearing about it and nodding along for so long that now you're afraid to ask just what the heck is mindfulness and meditation. So for me, in my own personal practice and in my own life, I think I experience or have experienced and still do thinking about the past, which is remembering, turning things over, using my mind, which is constantly running like a radio station, like a always on internet channel and television combined, showing movies all along the walls about the past, about what should have been or about what was, and experiencing emotions and thoughts and feelings and frustrations and regrets about that. So that's the past. Okay. Another part of my mind, so helpful, is playing movies about the future. So things that I want, things I'm excited about, things I'm afraid of, things I'm anticipating, things I need to do, things I need to not do. So if I have something going on that day, for example, I'm going to go talk to someone, I might be playing that conversation in my head. But ironically, if something happened to me in the fourth grade, say, I might also be playing that conversation in my head and thinking, okay, here's what I would have said, here's what's going on, here's the thing. So I wake up in the morning for that moment briefly, coming from dreams, which is also my mind playing movies for me again, very helpful. And I wake up in the morning, I step in the shower, first thing, songs are playing in my head. I don't know if you have that internal DJ or internal radio station, but I do. So very helpful. And then I start thinking about the past. Then I start thinking about the future. Then I start feeling things like, again, regrets or stress. It stresses my morning. Oh my gosh, I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do this. And think about that moment. So let's say I do have an interview or a conversation with someone later in the day. I'm going to think about what I'm going to dress, wear, of course, what I'm going to say, what I'm going to bring, what I need to bring, what I need to make sure to do and to not do. And so that morning, when I'm there in the shower, rather than feeling the water on my arm or feeling the texture of the situation or smelling the smell of the place, feeling it, seeing it, smelling it, being there in that moment of the shower, because that's what I'm doing. I'm not at that interview, for example, and I'm certainly not in the past. And there's certainly not really a song playing, music that I'm hearing in my head. It's my brain. So our brains very helpfully have evolved to anticipate the future, to bring the past forward as if it were something we could change, and to tell stories about all of these things. So I should have done this. I will do this. This should have happened. This will happen. I want this to happen. I want this. I don't want that. These are stories because essentially we don't know what's going to happen. And honestly, another radical truth is really the only thing that's happening is that moment. Really the only thing that exists is this moment where I'm doing this right now. So what's the role of meditation? Meditation helps you do a couple of things. So you download an app like I do. I like Headspace. I like a bunch of other ones. 10%'s good. Calm is good. There's one by, oh my gosh, I forget his name. Great. Go to YouTube. You're on YouTube. You can go through all kinds of meditations. There's so many kinds, but mainly the commonality is mindfulness, and that just means being there with your thoughts, noticing what you are thinking, noticing that you are thinking. So here's the process. I download the app. I'm going to sit for 10 minutes. I find someplace comfortable. I don't need to cross my legs and sit on the floor. A lot of people do use something to sit on, like a couch or a chair or a cushion. It shouldn't be about suffering instantly. It shouldn't hurt instantly. And then you're just going to be guided through. And basically, the voice is going to tell you how to breathe. You're going to breathe. You're going to breathe out. You're going to start noticing that. And then you're going to eventually close your eyes. And then you're just going to sort of notice your thoughts. You're going to be there with your thoughts. In a way, meditation is not complicated. It's just sitting. But it is also noticing that you are thinking, noticing the contents of your thought. The noticing that you are thinking, that is labeling every time a thought comes up. Okay, I'm sitting there. Oh, what am I going to have for my next meal? I'm thinking about a ham sandwich or whatever it is. I'm noticing that. Oh, thinking. Okay. I'm worried about getting ready in time for my appointment. Okay, thinking. Oh my gosh, I'm feeling excited, or I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling anxious. Oh, okay, thinking. That's what's going on. And so our brain has evolved very helpfully to think and think and think. And we do this, and we're good at it. And we're also good as a species of being successful with this strategy. There's about 8 billion of us, or approaching 8 billion of us. So evidently, we're really good at this, and it's really good to further the species. But that aim, that evolutionary aim, is basically to further our genes on down the line, to preserve us long enough so that we can reproduce. And it doesn't matter if we're happy necessarily. Happiness is not at issue with the way that our mind naturally, these are quotes, naturally works. So we need to maybe intentionally address how our mind works and find ways to be happy. And my contention, and the contention of some others, is that mindfulness, that noticing your thoughts, that noticing that you're thinking, noticing your emotions, and then from that space of just noticing, hey, I'm thinking right here. Hey, what am I thinking about? The next step can be having some intentionality. And I will give this as an analogy. Basically, if I'm having that interview and I tend to want to zig right or step right as a habit, we're also creatures of habit. Mindfulness will help us will zig left. Or let me give another example. I'm in conflict with someone and I'm starting to get angry. They're saying things that are upsetting to me. With mindfulness, with the mindfulness that I've trained, by doing this regularly, daily, maybe for a couple of minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, and then mindfulness in that moment, I can become aware of my thoughts. I can be aware of my triggers. I can be aware of the cascade that is, my breathing is increased. My pulse is racing. I'm feeling pressure in my head. I'm starting to think thoughts about this person or about myself. I'm starting to feel things like shame. And rather than always coming out with, okay, what's the next thing I'm going to say to that person, which might be a pretty regular pattern at this time in my life. I've been doing this for a while, so I might get really good at jumping down somebody's throat or saying something insulting or saying something that later on I might come to regret or I know will cause more problems and heat up the situation more. Rather than doing that habit, mindfulness allows me the tiniest bit of space to insert where rather than stepping right, I can step left. Rather than doing the habitual thing, I can do something else. It might be I just excuse myself. It might just be I leave the room. It might be I go, according to some practices, DBT, you go into the bathroom and you run your hands underwater. And this will allow you time to self-regulate. And that's part of what mindfulness can be. There are so many other things that mindfulness does, but this is just a short introduction. I hope it was helpful.